The town of Maplewood was small and quiet. People knew each other's names, faces, and secrets. But there was one man everyone avoided. His name was Ethan Walker. Children whispered about him when they passed the old cabin near the woods. Teenagers dared each other to knock on his door. Adults shook their heads whenever his name came up. They called him Crazy Ethan. He lived alone, spoke little, and often warned people about things that made no sense. "Storms are coming," he would say, even on sunny days. "Don't trust the quiet nights," he'd mutter in the grocery store. People laughed, rolled their eyes, and walked away. To them, Ethan was a broken man who had lost his mind long ago. But one night, something happened that made one person just one stop and wonder if Ethan Walker was truly crazy. Emma Carter had just finished her late shift at the diner. The clock showed past midnight, and the roads were empty. She drove her old car down the winding road near the woods, humming softly to herself, when suddenly the engine coughed and died. The car rolled to a stop. "Not tonight, please," she whispered, frustrated. She stepped out into the cool night air. The only sound was the chirping of crickets and the rustle of leaves. Her phone had no signal. The road was empty. That was when she saw him. Ethan Walker stood at the edge of the woods, holding a lantern. His tall figure looked even more haunting in the dim light. His gray jacket was worn, and his eyes seemed sharp yet tired. He did not move closer, but his voice carried through the night. "You shouldn't be here," he said. Emma froze. She knew the stories, the warnings to stay away from him. Her heart raced. My car broke down," she replied carefully. Ethan tilted his head, studying her like he was searching for something in her face. "The nights are not safe anymore. You should leave before the storm comes." Emma frowned. The sky was clear. The stars shone brightly. There was no storm. "What storm?" she asked. His voice lowered, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. "The kind you don't see until it's too late." Emma felt a chill down her spine. She wanted to get back in her car and lock the doors, but she also felt curious. There was something in his eyes. They weren't wild like she expected. They were sad. They were warning her, not threatening her. "Do you need help starting your car?" Ethan finally asked. Emma hesitated, then nodded. He walked over slowly, keeping a respectful distance. His hands were rough, marked with scars. He checked under the hood, tapped a few parts, then told her to try the ignition. The car sputtered and roared back to life. Emma exhaled in relief. "Thank you." But before she could leave, Ethan leaned closer, his eyes fixed on hers. "Stay away from the river tomorrow. Promise me." She blinked, confused. "The river? Why?" "Just promise," he said firmly. His voice shook, not with anger, but with urgency. "Don't go near it." Emma nodded quickly, more to escape the strange moment than because she believed him. "Okay, I promise." Ethan stepped back, lifting his lantern. "Go home, Miss Carter. And lock your doors tonight." Emma drove off, her heart pounding. In her mirror, she saw him standing there in the darkness, the glow of his lantern fading behind the trees. The next morning, Emma sat at the diner with her best friend Lily Parker. She told her everything: the car, the warning, Ethan's strange words. Lily laughed. "Oh my God, Emma. You actually talked to him? That guy is nuts. My brother says he talks to the trees. The sheriff says he's harmless but weird. Don't let him scare you." Emma forced a laugh too, but deep down, she couldn't shake the way Ethan had looked at her. His eyes weren't those of a madman. They were the eyes of someone who knew something. That night, Emma lay awake, replaying his words, "Stay away from the river tomorrow." Why the river? Why tomorrow? She finally fell asleep, but her dreams were filled with rushing water, shadows in the woods, and the haunting glow of Ethan's lantern. And somewhere in the silence of Maplewood, Ethan Walker sat alone in his cabin, staring at maps, old files, and broken weapons hidden beneath the floor. He whispered to himself, "They'll never believe me, until it's too late." The sun shone brightly over Maplewood the next day, but Emma Carter could not shake off the memory of last night. Ethan Walker's words kept echoing in her head, "Stay away from the river tomorrow." She tried to laugh it off. Maybe he was just lonely and liked to scare people. But when she drove past the river on her way to the diner, her stomach tightened. The water looked calm, sunlight dancing on the surface. Children laughed nearby, tossing stones into the current. Nothing seemed strange. Still, she pressed her foot harder on the gas pedal and didn't look back. At the diner, Emma's best friend Lily Parker was already waiting at their usual table. Lily sipped her coffee with a playful smile. "So, did the crazy man visit your dreams too?" she teased. Emma sighed. "Don't call him that. He helped fix my car. And he seemed, I don't know, not crazy. Just worried." "Emma," Lily said, rolling her eyes, "everyone in this town knows Ethan lost his mind years ago. My dad says he used to work for the government, some secret job, until he broke down. Now he lives alone in that creepy cabin. People say he talks to himself at night." Emma stirred her coffee, silent. She wanted to believe Lily, but her mind kept going back to Ethan's eyes. They weren't the eyes of someone who didn't know what he was saying. They were the eyes of someone carrying a heavy truth. That afternoon, while Emma worked at the diner, a group of locals sat in the corner booth, gossiping as usual. The name Ethan Walker floated through their chatter. "Sheriff said he saw Ethan down by the water tower last night, muttering something about shadows," one man said. "Crazy fool," another chuckled. "Always talking about storms and dangers. He should be locked up before he scares the kids again." Emma's hand froze as she placed a plate on the table. Shadows. The same word Ethan had whispered to her. She glanced out the window. The woods across the street seemed darker than usual, even under the afternoon sun. That night, Emma was driving home when she noticed strange flickers of light near the edge of the woods. At first, she thought it was fireflies. But then the lights moved too fast, too sharp. Almost like they were watching. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. She wanted to speed home, but something made her stop the car. She lowered the window and listened. The sound came faintly, a low hum, like electricity. Then a rustle, as if something large was moving through the trees. Her heart pounded. Suddenly, a knock on her window made her jump. It was Ethan. "Don't stop here," he said urgently. His face was serious, his lantern glowing in his hand. "Go home now." Emma's voice trembled. "What's out there? What are those lights?" Ethan's eyes scanned the woods before meeting hers. "They're watching. They've been watching for weeks. Nobody believes me. But you saw it too, didn't you?" Emma swallowed hard. She didn't want to admit it, but yes, she had seen. "Please," Ethan said, his voice breaking slightly. "Don't tell anyone yet. They'll just laugh. But stay inside at night. Lock your windows. The town thinks I'm mad, but something is coming, and Maplewood isn't ready." Emma nodded, unsure if it was fear or trust guiding her. "Okay. I'll be careful." Ethan stepped back, disappearing into the shadows, his lantern flickering like a ghostly flame. The next morning, the whole town buzzed with news. An accident had happened at the river. A small boat carrying two fishermen had flipped over during the night. One man was injured badly, the other shaken with fear. They claimed something hit the boat from underneath, though nobody believed them. The sheriff said it was probably just a log in the current. But Emma remembered Ethan's warning, stay away from the river tomorrow. She felt a cold shiver down her spine. He had been right. Later that day, she visited Lily again, her voice urgent. Lily, listen to me. Remember what Ethan said about the river? There was an accident. He knew it would happen. Lily frowned. Emma, don't start. It was just bad luck. You really think that man can predict the future? I don't know, Emma whispered. But I think he knows something. Something nobody else does. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, staring at the woods. Every sound made her jump: the hoot of an owl, the creak of a tree, the whisper of the wind. And then, just after midnight, she saw it again. The lights. Flickering. Watching. Her phone buzzed. A message had been slipped under her door. Not a text, not a call. A note. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. In Ethan's rough handwriting, the words read: They will come soon. Trust no one. Stay away from the shadows. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She was no longer sure if she feared Ethan Walker, or feared what he was trying to protect them all from. The next morning, the town of Maplewood felt normal. People filled the diner, children played outside, and life moved as if nothing had happened. But Emma Carter could not stop thinking about the note left under her door. They will come soon. Trust no one. Stay away from the shadows. The words stayed in her mind like a dark cloud. At the diner, the gossip about the river accident continued. Some people said it was just bad luck. Others whispered that maybe Ethan Walker had cursed the place with his strange words. Sheriff David Miller walked in, tall and serious, his uniform neat as always. He sat at the counter, sipping his coffee, while people gathered around him. Sheriff, a man asked, are you gonna do something about that Walker guy? He's scaring everyone. The sheriff shook his head. Ethan's been through a lot. He talks nonsense, but he's harmless. Don't let his words get in your head. Emma watched from the corner. She wanted to speak up, to tell the sheriff about the accident and Ethan's warning, but fear held her back. If nobody believed Ethan, why would they believe her? That evening, as Emma walked home, she found Ethan standing near the grocery store. His eyes darted around like he was searching for danger. Why are you here? She asked in a low voice. I came to warn them, Ethan said, his tone urgent. But they laugh. They don't see what's coming. Emma's voice trembled. What is coming, Ethan? He looked at her with heavy eyes. I can't explain it all now. But I've seen them before. Years ago. They're not human, Emma. They watch. They wait. And when the time is right, they strike. Emma's chest tightened. His words sounded insane, yet deep inside, she believed him. Then why don't you tell the sheriff everything? She asked. I did. Long ago, Ethan said, almost bitterly. And do you know what happened? They called me crazy. They locked me away for months. When I came back, the proof was gone. But I never forgot. Emma felt goosebumps rise on her arms. If what he said was true, then Maplewood was in more danger than anyone realized. Later that night, Emma sat in her kitchen, staring at the note again. She could hear the crickets outside, the soft rustle of wind through the trees. She thought about calling Lily, but she knew her friend would only laugh. Suddenly, a knock echoed on her door. Her heart jumped. She opened it slowly, expecting Ethan. But it was Sheriff David. Evening, Emma, he said, removing his hat. Some folks told me you've been spending time with Walker. That true? Emma hesitated. He helped me when my car broke down. That's all. The sheriff frowned. Stay away from him. He means well, but he's troubled. He fills people's heads with fear. Don't let him fill yours. Emma forced a smile. I'll be fine, Sheriff. But when she closed the door, her smile vanished. Because in her heart, she wasn't so sure anymore. The following day, the town prepared for a small fair near the riverbank. Families set up stalls, children carried balloons, and laughter filled the air. Emma stood by the diner window, nervous. Ethan's warning echoed in her mind, stay away from the river. She wanted to skip the fair completely, but Lily convinced her. Come on, Em. Don't let Walker's crazy talk keep you locked inside. It's just a fair. Emma reluctantly agreed. The fair began cheerful and bright. Music played, children laughed, and the smell of popcorn filled the air. But Emma felt uneasy. She kept scanning the woods, half expecting to see glowing lights again. And then, she saw him, Ethan. He was standing at the edge of the crowd, watching with intensity. People whispered and pointed, mocking him. Some parents pulled their kids away, saying, stay away from that man. Suddenly, Ethan shouted. His voice carried over the music and laughter. Get away from the river. Now. It's not safe. The music stopped. All eyes turned to him. Sheriff David pushed through the crowd, his face red with anger. That's enough, Walker. Stop scaring folks. Ethan's voice was desperate. You don't understand. They're here. The sheriff grabbed his arm roughly. You're done. One more word, and I'll throw you in a cell. The crowd laughed nervously, shaking their heads. Parents whispered, he's gone mad again. But Emma didn't laugh. She looked at Ethan, really looked. His face wasn't the face of a lunatic, it was the face of a man terrified for everyone else. And for the first time, she realized the truth. Maybe the sheriff was wrong. Maybe Ethan wasn't crazy at all. That night, the fair ended peacefully. Nothing strange happened, and people left smiling. But Emma couldn't forget Ethan's broken voice as the sheriff dragged him away. She walked home slowly, her mind racing. What if the danger wasn't tonight? What if it was tomorrow or the day after? As she reached her porch, she noticed something strange. A shadow moved near the edge of her yard. She froze, staring. The shadow was tall, thin, and unlike any person she had ever seen. Before she could blink, it vanished into the woods. Emma's heart pounded. Ethan Walker had been right. The night after the fair, Emma Carter couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the shadow she had seen by her yard. It wasn't human. She knew it. Its shape was wrong, too tall, too thin, and it moved in a way no person could. But when she told Lily Parker the next morning, her friend only laughed. You've been listening to Ethan too much, Lily said while stirring sugar into her coffee. You're letting his stories get in your head. Emma shook her head. No, Lily. I saw something. It was watching me. It was, waiting. Lily rolled her eyes. You need rest, not ghost stories. Promise me you won't go near that cabin again. That man has already convinced half this town he sees monsters in the trees. Emma didn't answer. Because deep down, she was already planning to go back. That evening, when the town grew quiet, Emma drove toward the woods. The road was empty, the trees tall and dark around her. At the end of the dirt path, Ethan Walker's cabin came into view. She knocked softly. For a moment there was silence. Then the door creaked open. Ethan stood there, his eyes sharp but tired, a lantern glowing behind him. I thought you wouldn't come back, he said quietly. Emma stepped inside. The cabin was filled with maps, notebooks, and strange equipment she didn't recognize. Old weapons lay on a table, along with photographs of strange symbols carved into trees. What is all this? She whispered. My proof, Ethan replied. The government shut me down years ago. I tried to warn them, but they buried it. I kept what I could. Emma picked up one of the notebooks. The pages were filled with sketches, creatures tall and thin, with long limbs and hollow eyes. Her stomach turned cold. I saw one last night, she admitted softly. Ethan's eyes widened. Where? In my yard, Emma said. It was watching me. Then it disappeared. Ethan closed his eyes, his jaw tight. They're getting closer. I knew it. They've started moving into town. Emma swallowed hard. Ethan, what are they? His voice was low and heavy. Not human. They come in the silence, when no one is watching. They study us first. Then they take. Emma's hands trembled as she set the notebook down. Why me? Why show me all this? Ethan looked at her for a long time before answering. Because you believe me. No one else does. For the first time, Emma noticed something different in Ethan. Beneath the scars and fear, he carried a loneliness so deep it hurt to see. People had laughed at him for years, but still, he kept trying to protect them. You shouldn't carry this alone, Emma said softly. A faint smile touched his lips, the first she had ever seen. And who would stand with me, Emma? Everyone calls me crazy. I don't, she whispered. The air between them grew heavy. For a moment, Emma felt warmth where there should have only been fear. She quickly looked away, her heart racing. The next day, news spread around town. Strange power outages had rolled through Maplewood during the night. Street lights flickered, phones lost signal, and radios filled with static. At the diner, people grumbled, blaming old wires and poor maintenance. But Emma knew better. She caught Ethan outside the grocery store. His eyes were sharp. They're testing the town, he said. Cutting power, watching how people react. It's what they always do before they strike. Emma's voice was tense. And nobody listens to you. Ethan gave a bitter laugh. Why would they? To them, I'm just the madman in the woods. Emma wanted to argue, but before she could speak, Sheriff David Miller appeared. His gaze landed on Ethan, full of suspicion. Walker, the sheriff said firmly, I don't want to hear another word about monsters, storms, or shadows. You've scared enough people. Stay away from the town or I'll make sure you do. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He turned and walked away, his shoulders heavy. Sheriff David looked at Emma. You too, Miss Carter. Don't let him drag you into his madness. Emma nodded, but inside her chest, anger burned. She wasn't blind. She had seen the shadow. She knew Ethan was telling the truth. That night, Emma drove back to Ethan's cabin. He looked surprised to see her again. I thought the sheriff scared you off, he said. He doesn't scare me, Emma replied. But what I saw, that does. I believe you, Ethan. And I want to help. Ethan studied her face, searching for doubt, but found none. For the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't alone. You don't know what you're stepping into, he warned gently. Emma's eyes held steady. Maybe not. But I know what I saw. And I know you're not crazy. Silence filled the cabin, heavy but comforting. The shadows outside grew deeper, the forest whispering secrets only Ethan understood. And somewhere in the darkness, unseen eyes were watching them both. The night was quiet in Maplewood, but not peaceful. Every street light seemed weaker than usual, and the shadows felt heavier. People avoided going out after sunset. They whispered about strange sounds in the forest and lights moving where no one should be. Michael sat alone in his small living room. His old lamp flickered, casting long shadows on the wall. On the table lay a map of the town, with red marks drawn by his shaky hands. He circled the same spot over and over: the abandoned warehouse near the river. That was where the danger lived. He was sure of it now. But no one believed him. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. One more chance, he whispered to himself. Just one more chance to warn them. As if in answer, there was a knock on his door. Slow. Careful. Almost fearful. Michael froze. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then he stood, walked to the door, and opened it. It was Sarah. Her face was pale, her eyes wide. She held a flashlight in one hand and a folded paper in the other. "Michael," she whispered, stepping inside quickly. "I need to talk to you." Michael frowned but let her in. Sarah looked around nervously before shutting the door. "I shouldn't be here," she said, her voice low. "If my father finds out, he'll be furious." Michael tilted his head. "Why are you here, then?" She placed the paper on the table. Michael unfolded it and stared. It was a hand-drawn sketch of strange machines, circles, and long wires spreading underground. "I found this," Sarah explained, "in my father's office. I don't think it's just a drawing. I think it's a plan." Michael studied the page. His heart pounded. It looked exactly like the patterns he had been seeing in his dreams. "Where did he get this?" Michael asked. Sarah shook her head. "I don't know. But he's been meeting people late at night. Men I've never seen before. And last night, I heard them talking about the warehouse." Michael's eyes darkened. He pointed at the map on the table. "That place." Sarah leaned closer. "Michael, what is going on? What's in that warehouse?" Michael's voice was low and heavy. "Something not human." Sarah's eyes widened. She wanted to laugh, but she couldn't. Something in Michael's expression stopped her. Before she could speak again, another knock came at the door. This one was harder, faster. Michael grabbed Sarah's arm and pulled her into the corner. "Stay quiet." He peeked through the window. Sheriff David stood outside, his badge glinting in the moonlight. But he wasn't alone. Two men in black suits stood with him, their faces cold and sharp. Michael's stomach tightened. "They're here." He opened the door slowly. "Sheriff," he said calmly. David gave him a long look. "Michael. We need to talk." Michael glanced at the men in black. Their eyes didn't blink. Their skin looked almost too perfect, too smooth. "What do you want?" Michael asked. One of the men stepped forward. His voice was flat, mechanical. "We heard you've been spreading stories. That must stop." Michael stood tall, though his hands shook behind his back. "I only tell the truth." The man leaned closer. His cold breath touched Michael's face. "The truth can be dangerous." David shifted uncomfortably. He didn't meet Michael's eyes. It was clear he was afraid too. Michael didn't answer. Instead, he nodded slowly. "I understand." The men stared at him for a moment longer, then turned and walked away into the night. Sheriff David hesitated, then followed them. Michael shut the door quickly and locked it. Sarah came out of hiding, trembling. "What were they?" They didn't seem normal." Michael put a hand on her shoulder. "Now you see. I'm not crazy. They're here, and your father is helping them." Sarah swallowed hard. "What do we do?" Michael looked back at the map and the strange paper on the table. His voice was firm now, with a strength Sarah had never heard before. "We go to the warehouse. Tonight." Sarah's eyes widened. "But it's dangerous." Michael interrupted, his tone sharper. "If we don't go, there might not be a town left to save." The old clock on the wall ticked loudly. Midnight was close. Sarah finally nodded, fear in her eyes but also determination. "Then I'm going with you." Michael gave a small smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. Good. Because we may not get another chance. Outside, the wind howled through Maplewood, carrying with it a sound like metal grinding against stone. Few people heard it. Even fewer dared to listen. But for Michael and Sarah, the real night was only beginning.